Ledyard National Bank presents this special segment. Ledyard National Bank wants to congratulate Bruce King on the wonderful career serving his community. They thank him for his continued guidance and leadership as an integral member of Ledyard's Board of Directors.
I'm Laura James, for YCN, and we have a wonderful interview to bring you today. We're speaking with the President and CEO of New London Hospital, Bruce King. Hi, Bruce.
Hi. Well, delighted to be here.
Oh, we're so glad you're here.
Thank you.
So here's what I was thinking. You have to be a bit of a magician. Mm-hmm. You turned 3 years into 16. 16. Can you explain what that means?
Sure. I had the pleasure of being appointed as CEO in April of 03. And if you recall, part of what was the genesis of that was the desire to have a management contract. So technically, as I think you know, and many people in the community are aware, I'm an employee of Dartmouth-Hitchcock, and I have been for 33 years. The board and management of the New London Hospital at that time there was a transition that went on relative to sort of leadership, relationships, and some changes that occurred with, Capital Region Health Plan and with the leadership. And they turned to Dartmouth-Hitchcock and asked for a management contract. Dartmouth had never done that. And I was actually on the due diligence team that came down here to sort of explore whether we wanted to have a management contract. And when the answer was yes, then it was sort of who. And there was a number of us that thought this would be an interesting role to have. I live in Hanover, and so the notion of commuting down here, and so it was a 3-year contract that started in April of 03.
Isn't that amazing?
Here I sit,
it's
16
3 years, 16 years later,
right.
and just looking at retirement too. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that, and I'd like to talk about the affiliation. But most importantly, you went from it was a transition for you. You came to a small town hospital. What was that like?
Yeah, no, it's I've reflected and made comments to the community. So I spent my first 10 years in Boston and working for Boston Teaching Hospitals, one of the big 8 accounting firms, KPMG at Mawick. And I went up to Dartmouth-Hitchcock as a VP of Finance for the medical center, which was in '87. And so I have always worked in big academic institutions. So you're absolutely correct. The corny line that I had used, Laura, was that I never knew what a community hospital was until I came here. So, working in Boston, working at Hitchcock for 16 years, and then coming to a community hospital, and this is the quintessential community hospital. And I have very much appreciated sort of the orientation and the focus on community. A place like when you're in Boston or you're in Hitchcock, your communities are large and the population is voluminous, and here it's very different.
It is a very different environment. It really is. And as we think about your connection, it's layered. And the thing that New London residents didn't realize is that there was a lot of transition. Really in the early 00s, whatever we call that, right? As the new time arrived. I'd like to get into that in just a minute.
Sure.
But my question for you is, and we'll talk more about this, you're looking at retirement. This must be a very reflective time for you.
It's very reflective. It's very bittersweet. It's been very humbling in terms of the positive feedback that I've received in terms of, spending 16 years here when, you think you're in a 3-year contract. So, but it's the right time. I'm 64 years old. I've experienced a lot, some medical issues myself, in the last year where I'm on the wrong side of the doctors.
Right.
And so, this job is not without its stresses. Healthcare is, a pretty dynamic place right now.
Sure.
And one need not look further than Springfield Hospital going through bankruptcy. And it's a real struggle on a day-to-day basis. I'm very pleased with where we're at in terms of, whether it's our financial performance, our clinical, performance, our relationship with Hitchcock, and so it's a right time to make a change.
That sounds great. Well, Bruce, when we come back, I'd like to talk more about the relationship with Dartmouth-Hitchcock. Very quickly, you worked at the old Mary Hitchcock, didn't you?
I was on Main Street.
Yes, we
part
remember
of the
that well.
appeal for me was to actually come to work at a facility that was moving.
That's right, and it certainly did. Absolutely. More with Bruce King, who is President and CEO of New London Hospital, coming up next time here on YCN. I'm Laura James.